Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. Let's get started with our hosts, Linda McKissick and Dana Gentry.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. I'm Linda McKissick.
And I'm Dana Gentry.
So, hey, Dana, it's been a little while since you and I talked. What's new with you?
Yeah, just really getting caught back up after the weekend. And I know I text you because I have to share. I experienced like one of my favorite things that now I'm obsessed with. In Lexington, we just got a CYL sauna studio. And I've got there's actually one in Austin. One of my girl that I know, she owns the one in Austin. But talking about the infrared, we were talking before the recording started. It is literally a little pod that you get in and you lay there for 30 minutes and you burn like 300 to 600 calories. So I've never sweat so much in my life. I mean, sweating. So that's my new latest and greatest.
Awesome. Well, you know me, I'm all about sweating and infrared saunas and all that great stuff. So I immediately Googled, and there is one in Dallas, but I think I actually have at home a sauna that does kind of the same thing. So, and I wouldn't do without it. So love it. Well, I'm super excited today because one of my favorite people, I think Glenn and I should have been brother and sister by a different mother probably. Because every training or learning event that I go to, I run into Glenn. And so we could talk forever. Matter of fact, it irritates us, at least me, I'll speak on my side, Glenn. It irritates me if there's somebody else because they get into our conversation, you and I just can't learn enough from each other. So Glenn and I wind up at a lot of events together, and we could talk for hours about the things we love and the things we learn. And both of us love helping realtors. We love helping realtors' lives be better, their businesses be better. So that brings us to what we're going to talk about today. Glenn reached out to me, I guess, maybe a week ago. I was at the beach house and got this neat email from Glenn that says, hey, would you kind of look through a new book I'm about to put out? And of course, I immediately read it, fell in love with it, and said, oh, you've got to be on our podcast because I want our listeners to hear about this first. So why don't you tell us a little bit, first of all, Glenn, tell the audience a little bit about your background and who you are, and then how did this book come about that you had me read?
Great. Well, Linda, I'm a big fan of yours too. And I really do enjoy the time that we get to spend together. And it's funny, it's so many, even some of the large Keller Williams events, there'll be 15,000 people and we'll always run into each other. Like, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just fate, but I always see you and your husband, and I'm just like so happy all the time. So thank you. And thank you so much for having me on today. Yeah. So I got licensed 31 years ago, graduated right out of university and went into real estate in 1989. And of course the market shifted in 90. And so that was really interesting. But I loved that part of it actually, because it gave me a chance to, a lot of the more senior agents were just so stuck on doing things the old ways that they just didn't want to change. And I was the young guy, just graduated, and I just kept on working. So that was my first shift. So as this shift came up right now, I started to see some, very similar things happening where all of a sudden they were in a good run. Everyone had been in a great market, and all of a sudden the whole game changed. And I think COVID-19 has changed this game. But anyway, just going back, so I worked with an independent for 3 years and became their number one agent, about 400 agents, and then moved over to RE/MAX, and I enjoyed my time at RE/MAX for 12 years before opening the first Keller Williams in Toronto and in Southern Ontario, really the second one in Canada. And since then, we've got, three franchises, 4 offices, about 580 agents, which I just love to work with and coach and mentor. It just fills my heart with joy. And I do a lot of coaching and teaching around North America and the world. I've also got an interest in Keller Williams Romania, where I was one of the founders there, which is great because I've never been to Romania, don't speak Romanian. Like, what could go wrong, really, if you think about it? But it was pretty fun. And then I written a couple of books. The first book was called Double Your Income, and it was just based on a pilot project I did in my office where I sent an email out to 200 agents and I said, who would like to double your income next year? And 23 people replied, which I thought was really interesting. So I said, great, we'll take them. So out of those 23, we, within 12 months, we doubled their income. Some of them we tripled and quadrupled. And the result was that first book, which was more of a how-to tactical book. But during that, I found a second big thing that agents were lacking, and that's that they were just trying to be everything to everybody. And so I said, well, we just kind of become an interchangeable commodity. It's not like we have a shortage of real estate agents right now. And then sometimes it seems like everyone's an agent, and then, you'll have a shift in 2007, 8, 9, and no one's an agent. So anyway, I wrote a book a couple of years ago called the MCQueenie Method, which is own your niche, own your market. And it was really just a journey about matching people's unique abilities and their natural strengths to a target market of people that they would love to serve. I was found in my real estate career that when my values and mindsets and beliefs were aligned with my clients, everything went quick in a real estate transaction. And when they weren't, that it was just always it was just full of friction. So that book came out, and that was fun. And then just a couple of months ago, as this pandemic was kind of setting in, I was looking around, and I was calling our agents, checking in and seeing how they're doing. And I noticed that about 50 to 60% of them had just completely shut down. They were in fear. They were scared about what was going on in the market. And I said, I got to do something about this. So did a bunch of research and really came up with the 8 winning mindsets that real estate agents need to win the game over the next 100 days and beyond. And it's really about getting agents to get out of being shut down and into double down, because I really believe this is just a once in a lifetime shift where we'll be able to get our unfair share of the market, unfair share of mind share. And this is the opportunity that I hope agents look at this as the biggest opportunity market they will ever have.
Right. And Glenn, you and I both have been through several shifts because we got in about the same time. I got in 86 and you got in 89. And so we've been through a shift when we first got in. Then we went into the 2008, 2009. I assume Canada kind of follows our shifts a little bit too. And so, I think it's hard for agents to believe that this is truly an opportunity to, gain market share that will help them in their career from now on. And why do you think that is? Why do you think for most people, they just kind of can't imagine or believe that this is actually an opportunity, not something that's just happening to them?
Well, because when I started in 89, it was a great market. In 90, our market collapsed in Toronto. Volume dropped 70%, prices fell about 40%. And but I didn't know any different, so I just kept on working. We were lucky in Canada because we didn't have the 2008, 2009 shift. We didn't have it, didn't occur. So most of the agents over the last 15 or 20 years have had a straight up run on prices.
Oh, wow.
And thought that was the way it was supposed to be. Oh, you just list a property and within a week you get multiple offers and you rinse, lather, repeat. Well, when you're in a shifted market, you got 3 months, 6 months, 9 months average time on market. You're dealing with multiple seller expectations. That was my reality when I started, So I was born for a shift. I came in a shift, and I look at this shift right now because of the gift that it gave me on the last shift. See, the last shift, everyone was doing well, and it's impossible to get market share, Linda, when people are doing really, really well. And but that shift just caused so many agents. They just went into so much fear and panic, and they wanted the old way of doing business. They actually loved the old way of doing business so much that they were afraid to change, and they ended up going out of business. So I look at this as because it gave me my market during the last shift, which would have never happened. And so I'm so excited for agents right now who want to relaunch their careers, or who are even starting out right now, or just this is the game. This is the most exciting. This is the moment I've been waiting for, in a way, for us to go and just get our unfair share of the market.
Well, I'm super excited to dig in about the book because it's a great book, great timing. It's called Shutdown Slingshot. So tell us about the book, kind of an overall, kind of what your goal is of the book. And then I've got some specific questions that I'd love to ask you about particular things that I thought were amazing that you wrote in the book.
All right. So in Shutdown Slingshot, what I did was really outline the 8 winning mindsets that agents need to achieve and to win this game. Because what I've learned, Linda, is that you have to mind your mind. You know, we have a coach that we share together, who Dan Sullivan, who talks about that you have to be thinking about your thinking, and you always have to mind your mind. And as I was doing my care calls, I just saw that there was such a level of fear because people were sitting at home in isolation, realizing they really had no control in their life. Like someone took their life away from them. Like, I thought I was in control, but you shut down the economy, you shut down my business. My spouse has been laid off. This person's losing their business. And there just in massive amounts of fear. And the only way that we can move people into action is to get them out of fear. Because when they're in fear, they're just living in isolation and they're in a very negative state. And I've learned in real estate that when you're on a roll, like when things are going well, when you have momentum, when you're doing deals and your confidence is at the highest, that's when the deals fall on your lap. You ever notice that?
Yeah.
And the opposite is true too. When things are not going well, every deal that you possibly touch, even if it's perfect, will just fall to pieces. So I said, well, how do I get our agents who are in shutdown mode now into winning this game? And so we came up with the 8 mindsets that people need to do in order to win the game right now.
Very good. Well, one of the parts you said in there, which kind of relates to this, is about the fear, is you said it does not matter what level you are today. Every level begins with focusing on relationship first. Deals, transactions will follow. Don't fear your sphere of influence. Why do you think, I mean, even after COVID, the one thing that every agent still has is their sphere of influence. So why do you think they went into fear around calling people who already kind of know them? What do you think that's caused from? And how do they overcome that?
Well, I think they just didn't know the protocol right now. They didn't know, like, this has been we've been shut down for 3 weeks. Do I call somebody and say, hey, you thinking about selling your house? Like, I think a lot of people were kind of like just tiptoeing about what would be the right way to talk to their clients. So I was encourage all of our agents to simply text or call their clients and ask this one question. How are you holding up? How are you holding up? And by simply calling and saying, how are you holding up? The focus is on your customer, and they're going to tell you how they're doing. And you can listen to them, and you can just understand where their thinking is right now. And I always found that real estate always comes up in those conversations. It's never the purpose of the call. The purpose is to check in, but your relationship is real estate based. So they're always going to ask a question like, how's the market? So, but for some reason, so many agents just froze, and it was like, no, I'm like binge watching Netflix. I'm doing everything else apart from real estate because that just makes me, comfortable, I guess. And I'm like, no, this is the time you have to reach out. You have to connect your mind to other people, make sure they're okay. This is the time that we connect as human beings and get mind share right now in order for us to get market share later. And the second point I'd say, Linda, is, if in my 4 offices, 90% of the agents, the most successful agents, are the top agents in all my offices. I would say at least 90% of them get 90% of their business from their sphere of influence, their past clients, their referrals. And so if you're not going to go follow up with them, someone else is going to be following up with them. And that was my other goal is, if you want to avoid database shrinkage, you better be in relationship with people. Because people will not forget how you made them feel when you called to say, how are you holding up? I was just thinking about you. How are you doing?
Hey, Glenn, I do have a quick question on that because I wrote down I was going to ask you what script you were using. One thing, and I just love saying, how are you holding up? One thing that we've heard from some agents that I'd love for you to touch on is what advice would you give them if they maybe haven't been doing their quarterly database calls, or maybe it's been a couple years since they've reached out to their sphere?
Yeah, well, that's a very common thing because, you know, we get busy, don't we? And we just get busy, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I haven't talked to them in 2 years and 3 years. And then we get into our head, we're like, oh, they're going to think the only reason I'm calling them is to, you know, because I want to sell their house. So here's what I would be coaching them on. I would say you have to call and apologize first. So if I was calling you, Dana, I would say, hey, Dana, and I always like to start it with, I just drove by your house. Because it's a nice bridge, you know, so I just go, oh, I just drove by your house and I was thinking about you. And I just need to apologize because I realized that when you bought your house 2 years ago, I have not even kept in touch. And I just want to say, I'm really sorry. And I've done these calls before. I've coached so many agents to do it. And here's the feedback you get 95% of the time. People say, oh, don't be sorry. We meant to reach out to you. Like but life got busy, you know, we found new schools, whatever. And so it's so great to hear from you. But I think we always have to call and apologize first. Let's just own up to it. I'm really sorry. But I just drove by your house and I was thinking about you. And I thought, geez, I can't believe it's been 2 years since I called because I loved working with you. Like it was so much fun we had together. And I just feel, oh, terrible. And then the second part of, so after how are you holding up? There's another question that you can roll in there too. And so before the pandemic, what we used to do is call people and say, hi, how are you? And then how's your home? It was the 2-question referral generator, we called it. And our record right now is one of our agents called 34 past clients and got 14 referrals in 2 weeks.
Wow.
By just using that simple, hi, I was, you know, drove by your home. I was just thinking about how are you, which is how are you holding up now? Because it's just a different, I think it's a more interesting question right now. How are you holding up during all of this? And then how's your home? And they're, you know, and when I would coach some agents initially and they're worried about making this phone call, they're like, oh, what if there's something wrong with the house? And I'm like, well, 90% of the time there isn't. And if there is a problem, it's like, oh, everything's great. We love it. But you know, that bathroom downstairs doesn't work, or the toilet doesn't work. Like you send your person over on you and you go fix it. That's how I would handle that situation. But here's what really happens, Dana, on those calls is when I go and how's your home, they start filling my bucket. They're like, oh my God, Glenn, we love this house. Thank you so much for getting us this property. We just love the schools in the area. And I'm so glad you talked me out of buying that house and got me into this one. And now you just fill your bucket and you're like, hold on, I was calling to fill yours, you know?
I love that. That's great.
Yeah, so good. And one spot in your book, Glenn, you talk about I love the fact that after every chapter you give them action steps. I love a book with action steps, don't you, Dana?
Yes, my favorite.
Tell me what to do and I'll go do it, right?
Yep.
Right.
So one of the things you said is for action steps is for the first 30 days, try to get to 50% virtual and 50% physical deliverables in your business. Kind of give us an example of what that would look like for an agent.
Right. So the first mindset in the book is to digitize everything you do. It's the sprint, and we're so lucky that over, you know, the last 5 or 6 weeks, we already had all the tools out there. We've just been able to patch them all together. So now we can sit there and do a Zoom listing consultation, and that's not weird anymore. That's actually really cool, and it's acceptable. You don't have to drive an hour and a half or an hour across the city and sit with them for an hour. You can be very efficient and do half an hour Zoom listing presentations, Zoom buying presentations, Zoom investor seminars, Zoom buyer seminars. So number one is the more digital you get, because the goal is on that mindset is, and the whole goal of the book is the person who wins this game is the person who makes the transaction easier, faster, and simpler for all of their customers. Mm. And the one way we can do that is let's start from the beginning. So we can do a digital buyer consultation, seller consultation. We can do a digital orientation tour or a virtual orientation tour. We could line up 6 properties. We could get together on Zoom. We could walk through them. We could see the 3D tours. We can see I love the seller self-guided tours now, or when the agent's gone there. A lot of our agents are getting the seller to film every room with no commentary, and then they stitch it and they do a virtual walkthrough. We've moved to virtual open houses where, how great is that? You can do an open house on Tuesday night at 7 o'clock, and you could have 20 people booking 10-minute tours where you walk around on FaceTime and they say, hey, open up that door, open that closet, can you bring me to the backyard, can you show me the furnace? And then we can narrow it down to just a few properties that they really have to see for safety reasons. And then from there, we can do home inspections virtual, basically. We can virtually stage the house when we're selling the house. We don't have to move furniture in anymore. We can just go do it, right? We've got Matterport tours, which are really fun to be able to walk around in. Most of the lawyers have moved digital right now. The funds get transferred digitally, it closes digitally. So my whole point in digitize everything is in the first 30 days, 40 days, get your business 50-50 physical and 50% virtual. You're still going to have to show some homes. Some people still want to meet with you. I get it. But start stitching your tools together so that by the end of 100 days, you're going to be 80% virtual and 20% physical.
Do you think they need any special tools or equipment to do most of this stuff, or they have it already?
It's all there. It's off the shelf. What I talked about a little bit in the book is about Zoom. Like but you do have to learn and understand what Zoom really is, right? It's you have to be in the right frame. The camera has to be centered on your face. It's not like my mom. If you guys can see me right now, every time my mom's 80, and her iPad used to be a coaster for her tea. Before this, and now every Zoom she's like this. Hello, how you doing? Great to see you. So you have to be in the frame and just understand that that's how it works. Sorry, I just got to put this up again. So you have to be in the middle of the frame. You have to have the lighting properly on you, right? I'm facing a window right now because it's softer light. And it's not going to show all the bags all around your skin and stuff like that, You have to have a presentation that has a beginning, it has a middle, and it has an end. Not just, just showing up and starting to talk. So the tools you need and so that's in my book, I talk about, you double down your lead generation in the morning, you double down your appointments in the afternoon, and then you just add an hour, 60 to 90 minutes between 4:30 and 6. For you to put a new system in, learn about a new system, learn about a new technology, because the people who win this game are the people who stitch it all seamlessly for the consumer as quickly as possible.
Yeah. How much longer do you think are you guys out of lockdown yet? I mean, I know Canada's different than us, but we're starting to move out of lockdown a little bit. Do you see a lot of this changing, or do you see us moving forward? We give people option. Would you rather do it on Zoom or in person?
I think, I love Gary Keller in his book. The one thing he said, I think it takes 66 days to change a habit. And so I've been waiting for the 66th day of this, that we can be more efficient. And I think people are used to it. Are people tired of Zoom? Yes, absolutely. But I think it's a great way, like imagine a world, this is what I'm imagining, where you could do 10 virtual listing consultations a day, half hour each, and you pick the 3 people you want to work with. You offer a free, no cost, no hassle, 30-minute, ask me any question about real estate consultation. You're promoting it through Facebook, Instagram, Google. The no hassle, no obligation, 30-minute listing consultation, And you can even have a tagline on the bottom that says, and I'll never reach out to you until you reach out to me. You make it so ridiculously easy for the consumer, and now you just start doing it. And if you could be doing that many consultations in one day, like that's where I think the future is. Will some agents go, no, all of my clients want to see me physically? Yes. Are there some people who don't like technology you're going to have to see physically? Yes. But every goal I set, I just want to hit it 80% of the time. So if I can be doing only virtual consultations 80% of the time, I'm going to win this game.
Yeah. I was listening to a top agent the other day, and they were talking about doing I think it was first time home buyer seminars, and it was unbelievable the number of people that were signing up for that Zoom. And that's the piece I'm thinking, why would you ever stop this?
Yep.
You know, why would you ever stop doing Zoom or webinars or anything like that, where you could start to capture people that felt better starting off in the security of their home before they ever decide if they're going to work with you or not? I mean, it could be such a lead generation tool.
It's been crazy, Linda, to watch the difference in that. Even in the training, I don't know, Glenn, what you've seen some of the trainings in our market centers. I mean, we're getting more people on, more agents when we host Zoom than when we actually held the training inside the market center. And same for agents. We talked to them, and like they would host first time home buyer seminars, and 3, 4, 5 people show up. They get on Facebook and do a watch party or have a Zoom, and they're getting 50, 60 people. I mean, I think that's one of the biggest blessings that will come out of this, honestly.
Absolutely. See, I think we're catching up to the consumer. We liked our old way too, that, you have to come, even for our agents, you have to come into the office for training. Well, that's a commitment. And we started noticing that a lot of our attendance was dropping anyway. And we started thinking, we need new training. But we just realized that people are so jammed on time right now. Like they're just, this pre-COVID, they were just like, I got to do this. I'm running all over the place. So what's the easy button for those people? I think, yes, I think this will continue. I think it's a great place to start their home search, and all of the research, which I quote in the book from the NAR 2019 home buyer seller profile, is that the consumers are starting and doing 80% of their search from home. Mm-hmm. So let's just give them what they want, when they want it. And it's amazing. And I got to tell you, we have some of our agents now who are doing a bingo every Saturday and having over 100 of their past clients show up for bingo on Saturday morning. And this one agent said, I didn't realize that bingo was going to redefine my real estate career. I was just talking to him on Friday. I go, what do you mean? He goes, Glenn, I sold 13 transactions in May. I've never sold 13 homes in May. And he goes, it's all because we started this bingo 6 weeks ago, where we just have prizes and it's gift certificates and it's an hour. And some people do it on Thursday night and some people, and I've got one of my agents who is a professional piano player, almost like a bar singer type of guy, and used to work on cruise ships. So he started doing just that nightly piano concert, and it's all like he plays the best songs, and he's now up to over 500 people watching him.
Wow. Wow.
So I think we just have to think outside of the box a little bit here on how we're capturing them.
Well, and I believe people at least it's gotten more exposed during COVID. People are hungry for connections. And that leads me to something that you really talk about in your book. And now Dana and I are from the South, Glenn, so we would say niche market, but I'm sure you might say niche. And so you talk to us about, you think about how to think about that niche market or niche market, depending if you're from the South or not. Because I think I know from my own experience, as I was trying to figure out how to be a thought leader, I always struggled with when they would say you really have to narrow that down, and it feels like you're losing something instead of gaining something. So talk about that as it pertains to an agent. So
it's so interesting you say that, because a lot of people think, if I narrow my focus, I'm going to lose and do much less business. And what I realized is the people who actually go into a narrow target market, their business gets really wide, deep, and they enter into what we call the high margin, no competition world of real estate. So you can be in high competition, low margin, which is where most agents are fighting over commission. They're the fifth person in on a listing presentation, and it's the person with the lowest commission is going to win. So how do you get out of that commodity trap where the consumer believes that every real estate agent is the same, because we all say the same thing. I'm going to do great open houses. My feature sheets are the best. You're going to be on 7,000 websites. I got the best virtual tours, whatever. I do the best video. Well, everyone's saying the same thing. So how do you get your unfair share? So in the book, and your listeners can go there right now, they can download that second book I did for free. It's just at my name, glennmcqueenie.com, with, GLENN MCQueenie.com, and you can download it for free as a gift to them. And on that site, I've got about 75 podcast interviews with people, and I call it the 25-minute success podcast, where people I don't know would call in, and within 25 minutes, I find out who they are and who they want to be a hero to, and then we'd match it to a target market, and then I give them the marketing plan. So your listeners can go and listen to that if they want. But let me give you an example of how niche markets work. This is one of my favorites also. Or niche. How do you guys say it? It's niche?
Niche.
We say niche. I'm
It's
sure it's
probably not the right way.
I gotta get down to the South and remember that. It's a niche market.
Don't say you heard that from either of us.
Yes. No, just say some women from the South.
So I met this one lady, excuse me, and her husband had left her when her twin girls were 2. And so she really didn't like men too much. And she was very angry about it. And she's telling me this whole story. And I go, oh my God, that's a perfect niche market. She goes, what are you talking about? I go, oh no, there's probably a lot of women who hate men right now. And why don't we gather them all together and we'll create a niche market. And I said, like, what are you passionate about? And she says, well, I'm passionate about, I never want to have a woman go through the same situation. I want to help them buy investment properties so they're economically independent. They can make their own choices. And it's just her mission, right? So I go, perfect. So we created a thing called A Man Is Not Your Financial Plan. Right?
That's great.
Every 4th Thursday, she gets a group of ladies together. They drink lots of wine. They trash talk men, and they buy income properties together. And I'm like, yeah, that's perfect. But she's the only one who could have pulled that off, right?
Yes.
Because she's on a mission. So instead of just trying to be everything to everyone, we decided, let's be something to someone. And that's what a niche market is really about. So another niche market would be, people going through divorces. What someone needs going through a divorce is completely different than what a first-time buyer who just got married needs on buying their first home. A senior downsizing has a completely different need than a first-time buyer. A move-up has a different. Someone looking for great school districts has a completely different need. So what we do is we tell people, bring your natural strengths. What did you do before real estate? What are you passionate about? And one of our agents was a teacher for many years. And so teachers have this great emotional intelligence because they've had to deal with so many personalities. And her passion was helping seniors. She wanted to help them downsize. So a lot of agents go, we're going to hold seniors downsizing classes. And I'm like, okay, it's nothing new, but the way we approached it was different. So we started on a campaign where we mailed to 10,000 homes, and we directed them to go to the library for a seminar because we found that seniors like to go to libraries and community centers for seminars, right? And so she had about 37 people showed up from the mailing of 10,000. And then I said, okay, now we got to stagger it. Now you got to talk to them about, here's some options. You can stay where you are, aging in place. You can downsize. You can sell and buy something smaller. You could sell and rent something smaller. There was, excuse me, a bunch of options. And then I said, now what we have to do is offer a bus tour after the seminar because seniors like to go on bus tours, right? Now this was pre-COVID, remember, so I'm not sure how valid this might be. So then she started putting 5 seniors at a time in a minivan, and she'd stop and they'd all get coffees and they'd all drive along and they'd see 6 or 7 condo properties together. They didn't know each other, but it was like chatty. And anyway, she's just built this incredible market right now because we had the idea for it. Then she went and gathered evidence from the marketplace, and the seniors are like, well, I actually really like this, and I don't like this. And so now she doesn't call it downsizing. She actually starts with a decluttering seminar. So everyone's trying to get the sale downsizing, and she's getting them upstream, and we call it the decluttering seminar.
Oh, that's perfect. That's brilliant.
Yeah. And now she does it on Zoom. So all these seniors are on Zoom with her, and sometimes she'll have 50 or 100 seniors there. And she's like, she's a teacher, she's great at it. And she just talks about it, and that's her lead generator.
Awesome.
So she has no competition in that world. So she started 3 years ago with us. She's probably going to make $600,000 or $700,000 this year, like from 0 to 3 years, because we just lined up who she was with her target market. And that's what niche marketing is.
I think that's so important to point out, because I think a lot of times when, and you guys both have probably heard this before, but I think when someone thinks about a niche, I'll use your word, market, they think it's just a specific neighborhood or area of town, and or like they're farming, not that it's what are they passionate about, or what's something that they maybe have been through and want to give attention to for other people. I just think that's a great reminder.
Well, it's kind of like what we talked about in our past podcast, Dana. Who do you want to be a hero to?
Yep.
Who are the people that you could help all day long, and it gives you energy? It doesn't drain your energy.
Yep, absolutely.
For sure. Yeah, and I found it that it, like, you know, Dana, I used to think it was geographic too, right? What's my farm area? But then, you know, any farm area has some niches inside of that too.
Yep.
It could be the first time buyer homes, the move ups, the luxury. But I found, so there's 3 types of niches generally. One is the geographic, which is your farm. The other is the demographic, which is which age group are you trying to serve and what are their needs right now. And the third is the psychographic, which is why are people moving? So if you show me someone who's got 2 young kids under 5, I can probably assume that the most important thing for them right now is find a great school district for their kids. It's the only thing that matters. So great, let's build a whole market around getting that information to them. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, I could go on forever, Glenn. I mean, this is a great book, and everyone. So why don't you tell everyone kind of, matter of fact, when you said that about the podcast, I'm thinking that needs to be in your book, that people could go to the podcast and learn and listen to how you're helping other people do exactly what you're telling them to do. I love that. So why don't you tell everyone, how do they get the book? How do they find you? When will it be available? It may not even be available yet. You're in the pretty new stages, right?
We are. So if you give me 1 minute, I'll just go over the 8 mindsets, because people might be going like, how come you keep talking about 8 mindsets? And there aren't. The fact is there's only, I don't have 8. I only have 1. No, I'm just kidding. But I'll make up the other 7 really quickly. So here's the deal. So the first mindset is you got to start going digital as quickly as you possibly can. Number 2 is you have to become as disruptive as possible. You know, you always want to be the disruptor, not the one being disrupted. And we as an industry have gained a reprieve from all of these prop tech people, the Zillows, the offer pads, you know, all of those disruptors that were trying to take away our market from us, because they thought this is like booking a travel destination. They don't understand that every real estate transaction is 90% emotional and only 10% transactional. And because their stock is tanked and, you know, they've reneged on buying a bunch of homes, I think now they're starting to get back into it. But, you know, these Zillows, Redfins, a lot of these places who are just trying to almost like commoditize us, they're just being wounded right now. So let's go sneak in right now and go disrupt the marketplace before they come back, because they are going to be coming back. And the way we do it is we digitize everything first, and then we go and just be really disruptive in everything that we do. Like, just go challenge it. The third one is to be learning based. The whole goal of this sprint right now is we've got to learn some new tricks of the trade. We have to learn how to Zoom. We have to learn how to present digitally. We have to do offers digitally. I really believe that we're going to go back to an era where, do you remember the good old days where we actually presented offers, you know, and met the people? Like, couldn't someone do like a Zoom? We're doing offer presentations from this hour to this hour. You have a 5-minute time slot to present. I control it. I'm going to let you in, let you out, let them present to the seller. I think that would be really interesting to kind of bring in, not totally disruptive, but I think it's really interesting because the seller gets to see there's a human being and what that person is behind. Yeah. Because I know when I was selling lots of listing, I was looking at the agent and their story. and how they were going to perform on the contract. And that's how I was picking it. It just wasn't on price when you get all the offers digitally. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, when I'm like buying properties, I'll find myself asking questions and the realtor doesn't know the answer. I'm like, where are these people going? Why are they moving? I mean, stuff that is important to me to know that completes the story. Sometimes you want to know those things, or you want to know, you know, the seller wants to know a little bit more about the buyer, you know, if it's got two small children, and it might appeal to them because their children were small when they moved in. I mean, those kind of things really can make a story complete and help.
Absolutely. Totally. So I think the disruption part is really make the whole transaction simpler, easier, faster, and more enjoyable for the consumer. Whoever wins that game and stitches it perfectly wins it. Number 3, I talked about being learning based. It's this whole notion that we have to learn a bunch of new tools right now. But I want people to stop thinking about failing forward. I want you to be learning forward. I want you to go and learn and go and test the market, which is also the 8th mindset, which I'll talk about. But just learn the new game, because most of your competition will just yearn for the good old days. And we're just going to zip right by them, and we're going to just take their market share, and they're not even know what hit them. Number 4, it's just about being a game changer. You know, being a game changer is when a business comes in, notices an opportunity in the market, doesn't totally blow up the game, just changes the game slightly, that they get their unfair share of the market. You know, Amazon's been a bit of a game changer. I think you'd agree, right? You know, Netflix kind of changed Blockbuster's game a little bit, but they just came in, looked at the existing business model and said, what could we do a little bit different for the customer to make them simpler, faster, easier, and better? And I write a whole chapter about some game changer tips for them. Number 5 is just being focused on results. You know, we have 2 spectrums: agents who are trying to do, I call them the minimalists, the minimal amount of time and effort to try to get their commission. Then we have other people who are just like focused, like, I'm working hard and I'm willing to do whatever it takes and put in the time and effort to go and win this game. I set goals. I'm not going to settle for not hitting those goals. So get focused on those results, and understand that it's progress, not perfection. We're going to stumble through this new virtual world, but you know, your first couple of Zoom buyer consultations or seller consultations will be a little bit clunky, but then you're going to get better at it. Just like anything, it's a new game, and just make it so easy for them. Number 6 is, which I think is the most important one in the book, talks about we have to work on our inner game in order to have a better outer game. And the agents who are going to win this are the people who are constantly working on their own self-improvement, keeping themselves calm, keeping themselves focused, keeping in good health, exercise, being alert, curious about the industry. It's not about blaming others for all the problems in the world. It's like, what do I got to do to change inside so that my outer game just becomes really amazing? And I reference another book in there called The Inner Game of Tennis, which was really interesting. Number 7 is driven to grow. You have to have a growth mindset right now. Some people who don't have that, you know, they just look at it as like, oh, I've been given so many setbacks and failures, look at me. But the growth mindset people I love are, they just see every accomplishment they've ever made as just the foundation to where they're going. They're grateful for everything they've been given, but they're just like, okay, that's just my new floor. You know, oh, I hit a new ceiling and now becomes my new floor. You know, I love those type of people, and I can work with them the best because they just don't like the status quo. Mm-hmm. And that's me. I always want to grow. I just get bored otherwise. And then finally, number 8 is called the constant testing and feedback mindset, which is go try some new stuff right now that other people aren't doing. Test it into the market, get the feedback, and change. It's the same thing as I was saying in my book on the niche markets. I was like, dip your toe in the water first. Go and get feedback from that marketplace and then change and adjust. So I think if people go, I want to digitize everything, I'm going to be really disruptive. I want to be the hunter, not the hunted right now. I want to beat those prop tech people before they beat us. I'm going to learn forward. I want to change the game of real estate. I want to be really focused on results. I want to work on my inner game. I want to be driven to grow. And then I want to test the market, get the feedback, and adapt. Those are the 8 winning mindsets. And then at the bottom of every chapter, I tell them
Love
what
it.
to do each
So
step.
when will the book be available, and how would they know if it's not available, when it is, and all those kind of things?
I was just about to ask that.
So the launch is on June 16th. It'll be on Facebook Live. So we're doing the worldwide launch, the worldwide premiere. So I'll be with my publisher at that time, but they could go to my Facebook page, Glenn McQueenie. So that's when the launch occurs, on the June 16th. And as of that date, it'll be, on Amazon, everywhere else. It'll be in bookstores, I believe. So we're really excited about it. And then we're just trying to get the audiobook done right now. But there's just a lot of delays. Everyone's trying to do an audiobook right now. So Ingram Spark, who does the books, they're about a month or 2 delayed on doing anything. So, but I'm excited. I really hope that this book will help agents just get out of their current state of thinking. And, some are not doing well right now. They're just in a real negative state. It's been a tough game. Someone moved their cheese. You can think this is really unfair. And I want this book to be kind of like something you can just hug and go, it's going to be okay. If you can
actually, if you do what you say in the book, if people do what you say in the book, it's actually going to be better than okay.
Oh yeah. And just think about it now. If they follow these mindsets, they're getting their unfair share of the market. They're going to have so much more freedom of time. Well, they have it right now. They don't have to travel as much. I don't think you're going to have to work 60 or 80 hours a week. I think you're going to be able to have like a bit of a normal career now in real estate, and still make a lot of money. So they're going to have a lot more freedom of time, and more importantly, more freedom of money. So they don't have to worry about money. Just get that cash confidence of really increasing their earnings, and so they can get some of their time back and spend time with the people they really care about. And hopefully, the last step, if they double down and their business goes up, is what can they do to leave a legacy and give back and help other people. And so that's my wish. I hope they consume the book. I hope it becomes a little bit of I'm feeling down today. I'm going to just read this. Oh, I'm feeling better now. It's like how you pull a string and it's like, oh, they're back. Da, 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 da. That's what I want my book to be. The little string on those dolls.
That's awesome. Well, it was definitely inspiring to me. Awesome. Well, Dana, we're about out of time, as much as I hate it, because we could probably talk to Glenn all day. Any final thoughts that you'd want to add, Dana, before we close out?
Gosh, no, I just can't wait to read it. So I'll be looking anxiously awaiting for your June 16th date.
Awesome. Yeah. And don't forget to go to the podcast. And you said glennmcqueenie.com, and they could find the podcast where you've actually helped some people with their niche marketing and what they should do if that's their topic.
That's a great idea.
There's about 75 or 76 up there, and they're all transcribed. So if they don't like to learn by listening, they can just quickly read it. And there's some really cool stories there of people. And these are people, honestly, I don't know. And so I think what we're going to be doing just in a couple of months is we'll be doing a little bit of a coaching forum around that, not only reinforcing the 8 mindsets, but I believe one of the game changers is go own that niche market as quickly as you can before somebody else does, because people expect you to know, especially if you're in luxury, they expect you to know everything about luxury, and I think the days of like, hey, I do rentals, first time buyers, I'll run over and do luxury. Hey, you got to sell a farm, whatever. I just don't know if the value's there as much. So.
Yeah. People want to work with the person who's the best at whatever theirs is.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's cheaper to market. You have the highest margin. And I'll just leave you on this one thought. If every agent listening right now just said, where is my sweet spot in the marketplace? Is it helping a young family with 2 kids sell their one detached home and move into another home? So what would that cost in your city right now, Linda? Typical move like that. What would that cost?
You mean like the kind of the first time
sell price and the purchase price? Yeah,
probably about $250.
And then they're moving up to probably $350.
Oh no, $250 is what they'd be moving up to. So, I don't know. Our market's moved up so much. So I'm going to say probably, maybe $150. Maybe they bought it a few years ago. They got a pretty good, decent price on it, $150, and they're moving up to about $250, $300.
Right. So on the 150 sale, you'll probably make around $4,500. And on the 250 sale, you'll make $7,500. So there's about $12,000 on the table for every one person you find. So if they want to make $200,000 a year, they don't need to be everything to everyone. They just need to go and find 16 people to do that, which is just over one person a month. And when you understand that you have to be everything to everyone, that your marketing is all about, the free list of the top 10 best homes for 250 to 300,000, you start getting into that no competition, you're the expert, and you don't have to work as much. And it's just a beautiful thing. And if they want to make 400,000, then they only have to sell like 30 homes. Like, I'll take that gig. Yeah.
All day long. Absolutely. Glenn, this has been amazing. So thank you. Remember, if you have a question, submit it to us at info@everything life and real estate. If you'd like to be a guest on our podcast or have Dana and I help you with a situation or a challenge or an opportunity, just submit your name to us at info@everything life and real estate with a brief description of where you are in your business. And remember, the more you tell us about your business and where you are, the more we're going to be able to help you. So I want to say thanks for joining us today. And remember, the best thing you can do for Dana and I to give us a compliment is to give us a review. And if you think of someone that would really benefit from listening to our podcast, be sure and pass this podcast along to them. We'd greatly appreciate that. And Glenn, we want to say thank you, and we can't wait for your book to come out.
Yes, thank you, Glenn. This was great.
Thank you, Dana. And thank you so much, Linda. Thank you to both of you for what you do and all the service that you're giving back and all the people you're helping. So it's really my honor to be with you guys.
Thank you. My pleasure. Our pleasure.
Be sure to subscribe for more business strategies and tactics to inspire you to live an abundant real estate life. Don't forget to rate and review so we can bring you the best content. Find this and other valuable information at everythinglifeandrealestate.com.